And should there be an emergency, we have 3 exits. The one that you came through, there's one in the back right corner of the room and one behind Mr. Reese. If there are any issues, we would head over to the school department building and wait for further instructions from our first responders. Before we stand for our Pledge of Allegiance, I'd like to personally recognize on behalf of the council and the town the death of Kerrigan Nelson on Christmas Day. Kerrigan was a shining light here in Portsmouth and a warrior for cancer and cancer research. She fought to the bitter end, and the only reason she's still not here with us today is because her body finally gave out. And we wish Kerrigan and her family nothing but the best wishes as they go forward. Now, if you'd please rise and join me for an extended moment of silence in honor of Kerrigan and also our Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge of allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you, everyone. Neither Councilor Pereiro or Councilor Blank will be here this evening. Mr. Pereiro had a previous engagement he could not get out of, and Ms. Blank is not feeling well this evening. Madam Clerk, welcome back.
Thank you.
Roll call, please.
Mr. Gleason?
Here.
Ms. McDowell?
Here.
Ms. Patton? Here. Mr. Reese?
Here.
Mr. Hamilton?
I am here. Next up, we have our consent agenda. Do I have a motion to approve as presented?
Motion to receive and place on file?
Second?
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes 5-0. I'm going to have to remember that this evening. Next, we'll be sitting as the Board of License Commissioners. We have a couple of public hearings. One is a request for extended hours from 2 a.m. to 6 a.m. It's a new application for West Main Road Donuts LLC, doing business as Dunkin' Donuts at 1550 West Main Road.
Mr. President, I believe we need to open the public meeting
Yes.
for
Okay,
item one.
we got to start one at a time.
Yep.
Yes. Is there a second?
Second?
Thank you. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes 5-0. This is a public hearing. If anybody has anything to say for or against allowing Dunkin' Donuts to make donuts from 2 to 6 in the morning? I see nothing online. We have a
Motion
motion.
to close the public hearing?
Thank you, Mr. Gleason.
Second?
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes 5-0.
Mr. President, motion to approve the vitulers license with extended hours for Dunkin' Donuts.
Second?
All those in favor? Opposed? Motion passes 5-0. Next up, we have a second public hearing for the transfer of a Class BV alcohol license. Application to transfer the Class BV license from Rocco's Little Italy, doing business as Rocco's Little Italy, to RWR Hospitality LLC, doing business as Rocco's Little Italy, 880 East Main Road.
Motion to open the public hearing.
Second?
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes 5-0. Anyone here to speak for or against this transfer? And Madam Clerk, the usuals, all bills have been paid and we don't have anything
Yeah.
from any distributors or anything?
Nope.
Perfect.
Mr. President, motion to close the public hearing.
Second?
All those in favor? Opposed? Motion passes 5-0.
Mr. President, motion to approve the transfer of the Class BV alcoholic beverage license number 9364 from Rocco's to RWR Hospitality LLC.
Second?
All those in favor? Opposed? Motion passes 5-0. Next, we have a victuals license also for RWR Hospitality LLC, doing business as Rocco's Little Italy at 80 East Main Road.
Motion to approve.
Second?
All those in favor? Opposed? Motion passes 5-0. And then next we have annual entertainment license for Rhode Island Rugby Football Foundation. Beast of the East Rugby Tournament this year will be held from April 18th, 19th. Excuse me, April 18th and 19th.
Motion to approve.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes 5-0.
Mr. President, motion to adjourn as the Board of License Commissioners.
All those in favor? Opposed? Motion passes 5-0. Next, we have our meeting minutes from way back last year on 12/8/2025, the executive and regular meeting. Any adjustments or changes?
Motion to approve is presented.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes 5-0. Now we have our town administrator reports. Mr. Rayner, Happy New Year, sir.
Thank you, and to you as well. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. With regard to the transfer station and curbside sales, as of December 31st, 92 households on Prudence Island have signed up for the Prudence Island Transfer Station. 2,032 mainland households are using the Headley Street Transfer Station, and 3,213 have signed up for curbside. So on the mainland, that's 5,245 signed up households out of 6,474 eligible, or just over 80% participation, which means there's 1,229 households, roughly 19%, who are not enrolled in either program. Just a reminder, the transfer station will be closed and there will be no curbside pickup next Monday due to the Martin Luther King federal holiday. All curbside pickups next week will be delayed one day, so that it also includes the Friday pickup, which will be on Saturday. I'd like to make note that on December 16th, Chief Peters, our police chief, was elected by the members of the Rhode Island Chief of Police Association to become its newest member to its executive board. Chief Peters will be sworn in, or has been sworn in, as a sergeant in arms position, and he was sworn in at a ceremony held yesterday.
Congratulations.
Late last month, the governor announced that Rhode Island has been awarded approximately $156 million in federal funding over 5 years through the Rural Health Transformation Program to improve access to care in rural communities, including Portsmouth, because of Hog Island and Prudence Island. The funding is intended to support initiatives such as mobile health services, EMS modernization, hospital at home programs, workforce development, and community-based care. We're taking a closer look at whether there may be opportunities that align with services already provided by the Portsmouth Fire Department. One early concept under consideration is a potential community paramedicine slant mobile integrated health model that could allow scheduled home visits and certain levels of care to be provided directly to residents on Prudence and Hog Islands. This is very preliminary, and we will monitor the state's implementation of the guidance that is supposed to come out here shortly and evaluate the opportunities that make sense for Portsmouth. With respect to our paving program, the Rhode Island Department of Transportation has approved the receipts associated with our fiscal year 26 road paving work under the Road Restore Program. And we've submitted our anticipated fiscal year 27 paving plan and expect continued grant participation next year, assuming the program is funded through the governor's upcoming budget. As part of last year's budget, the council appropriated $20,000 for improvements at the Frank Carson Playground. We are treating that funding as the first step in a broader implementation effort. And the Recreation and Public Works departments are working with each other to help frame a scope of work with an emphasis on neighborhood input, ADA accessibility, age-appropriate design, and consistency with the town's adopted master plans. So in support of that effort, the Parks and Recreation Committee conducted a site visit in October with the Public Works Director to better understand the site conditions and potential scope of the project. As part of ongoing maintenance and safety concerns, DPW has already removed several existing structures that posed potential safety concerns. The current funding is expected to support early stage work such as site assessment, design, and other preparatory improvements that will position the playground for more substantial upgrades. To support that next phase, my working draft in the upcoming fiscal year budget includes additional funding for the Frank Carson Playground improvements. With respect to the audit, our municipal audit was completed last month and submitted to the State Division of Municipal Finance on December 22nd. We were the first community to do so, and as of today, we're one of only 6 so far to be completed. The town and state websites the town and state websites have been updated with a copy of the municipal audit, and hard copies have been distributed to you and to the clerk's office. The auditor will present the report at the February 9th council meeting. And then lastly, to tail on to the curbside and transfer station report, Town Hall will be closed next Monday, January 19th, in observance of the Martin Luther King Jr. holiday. Mr. President, that concludes my report.
Thank you, Mr. Rayner. Any questions for Mr. Rayner? All right. On to resignations and appointments. We have a bunch of resignations, one from the Conservation Commission from Mr. Smith.
Motion to accept with regret the resignation of Mark Smith.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes 5-0. We have Mr. Gottlieb from the Dog Park Committee.
Motion to accept with regret the resignation of Richard Gottlieb.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes 5-0. We have a resignation from the Juvenile Hearing Board by Ms. Cooper.
Motion to accept with regret the resignation of Susan Cooper.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes 5-0. And Planning Board, Mr. O'Connell.
Motion to accept with regret the resignation of Chris O'Connell.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes 5-0. And Prudence Island Planning Commission, we have 2 for Mr. Norton and Mrs. Greenie.
Motion to accept with regret the resignation of Raymond Naughton and Laurie Greenie.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes 5-0. Next, we have appointments. We have 2 appointments for the Dog Park Committee.
Motion to approve Helen Andromoulos, I hope I get that right, and Kim Colici
Yes.
to the Dog Park Committee.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes 5-0. Economic Development Committee, we have 4 vacancies and 1 applicant.
Motion to approve Alexander Gardner to the Economic Development Committee.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes 5-0. Design Review Board, reappointment of Mr. Frank Monroe.
Motion to reappoint Frank Monroe to the Design Review Board.
Second.
All those in favor? Opposed? Motion passes 5-0.
There we go.
I knew I was going to do it once tonight. Next up, we have the Dog Park Committee, a reappointment.
Motion to reappoint Joyce DeCosta to the Dog Park Committee.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes 5-0. Next, we have the Economic Development Committee, reappointment for Mr. Sepola.
Motion to approve Mr. Emil Cipolla to the Economic Development Committee.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes 5-0. And next, we have the Tree Commission reappointments for Mr. Wheeler and Mr. Jordan.
Motion to reappoint Scott Wheeler and James Jordan to the Tree Commission.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes 5-0. Now, on to old business. We are bringing back the request to approve a $150 assessment to all Prudence Island households in lieu of a transfer station sticker. I brought this forward on the 8th. I was asked for more information. The Prudence Island Planning Commission has gracefully put together a history of where we were, where we've been, and how we got here. The biggest issue with Prudence is the multiple passes. Going to the 150 pass was making it easier. If everybody was just assessed the 150, we didn't have to worry about 4-month passes, 3-month passes, 1-week passes, 6-month passes. So that was the idea behind it. It was brought forth to the November Prudence Island Planning Commission, where they overwhelmingly voted to approve it. So, Ms. McDowell and Mr. Reese, you were the, Mr. Reese, you requested that we get more information and bring it
Yeah.
back. So we'll start with you there.
Okay. The backer provided is basically a general discussion, as it says, only. It is not an analysis, a study, or a business plan. And nowhere in any backup here does it reference or recommend the implementation of the $150 fee to solve the problem, or where the $150 amount even came from. how does this tax solve this problem? And it doesn't really state how that will even do it. So that's my question. I mean, there's no correlation between the amount of people that would pay that and a fixed number that you're going against.
It fixes the issue of having multiple stickers and having it to be managed by the staff.
There's no dollar amounts to indicate that. I understand. what
The
you're-
dollar
yeah.
amounts are irrelevant. I mean, it's a cost center to the town. It's $127,000 roughly. We take in about $20,000 a year in revenue. Prudence Island is a different situation
I
than
realize that.
the rest of the island, the rest of the town. So the $150 covers roughly half of the cost.
Is that, but just a question, is that what we used to do? Because I believe Portsmouth had subsidized the cost of trash on Prudence Island before. I was gonna do some research on that. Because the Prudence Island, they don't receive all the same benefits the mainlanders do for the taxes paid. So,
Correct. They don't have full-time fire department. They don't have
right,
full-time
and so because of that, I thought
police.
that was what we did in the past. We took care of their trash after a certain point.
And we are still doing that.
Has
We're
that
taking care of
amount,
half of the trash
has that amount been increased to,
in terms of the amount we're taking care of.
well, the amount you take, the amount of people you're taking care of and inflation and new tipping costs and, different factors that have to do with how trash is handled nowadays, which is totally different than it used to be.
So I'm probably gonna get this wrong, but Prudence Island had a 5-year contract with Lawrence, or is it 3 years that started in 23? Okay, thank you, Paul.
3 years, what? What was-
2-year extension.
Now, Mary, you'd had some.
Yeah.
No, you're doing later.
You-
Ms. McDowell?
You get your later. Lights up.
Yes.
Lights up, lights on.
So I definitely believe that there is an issue that we have to deal with on Prudence Island, but I also believe that we have a trash removal issue in town, whether it be on Prudence Island or on the mainland, that I think we have to resolve. We have a deficit of approximately 85,000 for Prudence, or really 86. We have a deficit of approximately 370,000 for curbside. And again, if anybody says, I worked on these numbers, I'm hoping they're correct. I did my best. Curbside is an enterprise account, which means we have to increase the amount per household by approximately $116 next year, given if everything stays the same. We have a deficit of 58,000 for the Headley Transfer Station, which is an enterprise account as well. Probably increased, the increase would be $25 next year, bringing it to $315. And these are sizable deficits, which I believe must be dealt with. And I believe that in order to deal with them, we need to take a comprehensive look at our trash removal programs. Curbside, for instance, who is not enrolled in either curbside or transfer station? How are they disposing of their trash? There's 1,200 people not enrolled in either program, and we must find out how they are disposing and deal with that. And maybe we're doing that, but we have to get, I believe we should get some data there. Prudence Island, approximately 230 people are not enrolled in any kind of program for disposal. And again, how are they disposing of their trash? And we must get to the bottom of it and find out. I think data must include, especially for Prudence Island, monthly tonnage and what the monthly financial impact is. When is it determined that waste will be pulled from the island or not? A full container or a half container? The criteria for determining when a load leaves, winter tonnage and summer tonnage comparison. And I know we have that information somewhere. I know I've seen it, but we really have to take it collectively and look at it and study this, I think, going forward. There are ways to cut back expensive for all programs. Does Headley Transfer Station need 4 people working on some days? Does the contract dictate this, or can the contract be renegotiated or reopened? Can Prudence Island cut back on expenses in some way? Number of loads taken off the island weekly we must look at concrete data to determine that. There are a multitude of things to study in order to determine cost-effective ways of dealing with our trash issues. I have heard from some people in the community that an option for reducing the deficit in curbside would be to implement the pay-as-you-throw program, which would reduce waste and increase recycling, thus reducing expenses and increasing revenue. We could look at creating a fee structure, the same as what's been presented by Mr. Hamilton's agenda item here through Prudence Island Planning Commission. We could look at creating a fee structure of $290 for all residents, both on Prudence Island as well as the mainland, and those who want to opt for curbside pay an extra $170. This could mimic the same plan that we're talking about tonight. If we did that, we could almost pay for our townwide trash as well as Prudence Island, and it would be a much fairer way of assessing a fee and ensuring that everybody is paying fairly. When I did out the numbers using that, that creative 290, just as we're using 150 for Prudence Island, for all residents of Portsmouth, I came out with a total of $2,546,740, as opposed to what our current cost is, again, current, of $2,584. So what I am suggesting is that we form a committee to look at this, a time-specific committee that would take from now until April to look at these three trash issues and collectively get data and concisely put it together and make some, give some options for how we can proceed. So I would like to make a motion to form an ad hoc committee comprised of representatives from DPW, the Town Council, the Solid Waste Committee, Prudence Island Planning Commission, to comprehensively study each trash entity, curbside, Headley Transfer Station, and Prudence Island Transfer Station, to determine concrete ways to deal with each deficit. Yes, it is.
I'll second that.
Okay. Can we go over the numbers again one more time? One number I think I can correct is,
Okay.
you said 230, not doing something on Prudence, and it's probably 330 because we only have 92. So I'm rounding to 100. And your last numbers, you used $2.5 million, and then you said $250,000. So I just want to make sure you.
Well, I have,
200. Okay, yeah, so it was $2.5 million currently spending, not $252,500. I just wanted to confirm that.
2.5 and,
Okay.
yeah, 2.
I just wanted to
550.
confirm that they're both in the millions.
0.5 million.
Perfect. They were both in the millions. One wasn't, we weren't
Yes.
getting a really good deal with $250,000.
Right.
Yeah.
Oh, we-
So, any discussion on that? My only concern is the date of April 1st, because that's when our budget is due to us. So if we don't have a plan for Prudence Island, we're gonna have to plug in today's numbers of 290 and then back that out somehow. That's the only thing, 290 in bags. The enterprise funds are easier because they are standalone essentially.
We may have a number by then, or we'll have a closer idea, right?
You have it?
By April? No, but I mean by.
But, no, but she put April 1st as the deadline to get the information
Did
back.
April, really,
Yeah.
I wanted.
Maybe a
April.
preliminary number.
But we start the budget proceedings in the middle of April. So to have it before that would be much more beneficial to us to be able to discuss the budget, that's all. So if we could do April 1st, that way we can compile everything for the first meeting in April, which would
That'll
be,
our goal.
whatever that date
That-
is,
that
the
would be
10th,
perfect.
12th, 13th, whatever that is. Okay. Yes, ma'am.
Karen Stevenson, 23 Baldwin Road and 0542 Narragansett Avenue. I'm assuming you're still talking about Prudence Island and the trash.
We are talking about trash in general, but yes.
Okay, so a quick, in deference to Ms. McDowell, the proposal that was under discussion was supposed to be about the Prudence Island trash. A reminder that Prudence Islanders, for year-round sticker, is the same as a Portsmouth sticker currently, has been. There is a large seasonal population on Prudence Island, and so there have often been 4- and 6-month permits on the island. And when the year changed over from being July to June, instead of being the calendar year, the people that came back in May couldn't get a sticker for the first 2 months because it was only 2 months, or they could pay 4 months worth for 2 months of stickers or later. So what happens is if you can't dispose of your trash for 2 months, you find other ways to do it. And 2 months later, you don't go, I guess I need to go pay now. And there's a lot of discussions about, is there a way to do July and August of 1 year and then, or actually maybe it was 3, whatever. But, do you do July, August, September of 1 year and then part of the next year? And the administration of that would be extraordinarily difficult. So the other thing is that there's not a large, but there are a number of houses that are rented weekly or monthly. And there's no way to enforce whether weekly people all gang together and have one person take their trash, or whether it used to be a lot of people would just take their trash off the island. They were sticking it in the bins in Bristol, which is why Bristol actually removed their trash in the parks there, because people were, didn't want to take it all the way home. So some of the issues about disposal were different. The Prudence Island Planning Commission came up with a proposal to say, if we tax all the houses. Now, there's some people, the houses are really not used very, very much at all. Other years, they may be used a lot more. And the thought was, if you just assess everyone on the island, many people who are not buying permits, that would provide a better income and would be more equitable. For me personally, it's more money because I buy a sticker here in town and I use it on Prudence Island. So I'm not included in the Prudence Island numbers because I have a sticker. It's good in both places. Under the new plan, I'll pay here in town. And if I want to take my stuff to the transfer station on Prudence, I'd have to have a Prudence permit. I think that this, as an interim thing, does allow for a more fair distribution of the things going on Prudence. And it takes it out of, and it also makes the administration much easier. You're not worried about, did the people pay for a 1-week sticker? If you have people that rent for 2 or 3 weeks, they could potentially pay $150 for 2 or 3 weeks of trash. They're going to say, gee, that's an awful lot of money. Is there a way to do it differently? Is there a way to get around it? We are already doing pay-as-you-throw here in town and on Prudence. We've got the orange bags and recycling, and I think that did help our numbers. If we delay when we decide to do this, it means that the efforts to figure out how you implement this, how do you bill people, how are people aware, what's the mechanism for having a acknowledgement that you've paid. I have a rental property on Prudence Island, so if I pay, then my renters would have the ability to be able to take their trash and their recycling when they're there. I have to have a way to be able to say, to let them know, okay, here's the, is it going to be a laminated card? So I think if you wait too long to implement it, I think it's going to decrease the effectiveness and the implementation. So I would encourage you to go ahead. I mean, the Prudence Island Planning Commission did go ahead and try to survey a lot of people on the island. And if it's a disaster, then another year you say, okay, to think about another way. But we're not going to solve all the trash issues with this. But I think it is a way to improve the income that comes from the Prudence portion of things, to help offset the costs of taking things off of Prudence. It's still worth looking at what I think the recycling out there, how is it when the bins are not empty, when the bins are too full in recycling, everything goes in the trash. Those are different kinds of decisions and way out of the the individual residents' ability to have any impact on. So if you want to look at that, but I would encourage you to go ahead and approve it for this year.
Oh,
Thank you, Ms.
sorry.
Stevenson.
Yeah.
Ms. McDowell, go ahead, I'm sorry.
Um, in the addendum that the Prudence Island Planning Commission, sent us, it said that most homes, of the 432 homes on the island, most homes are occupied only 6 months a year. So, and when I look at that, and I look at, only 37 people opted for the 6-month, pass, that's a big discrepancy. So my whole reason for this motion is to look at all the things, even the things that you just talked about. You have a sticker
So
here.
I have a sticker
Yeah.
in Portsmouth, so I don't count there. I have a rental property.
Right, but,
Those people are responsible for getting a weekly pass.
Right.
A lot of them don't. I tell them they need to do it. I'm not responsible for handling them, taking them to the transfer station to do it.
right,
So I think that, and I think the 6-month passes have dropped since the calendar changed. Because people would come back, if people were coming for 6 months, they'd come in May, they'd get a 6-month pass and they use it. But if you come in May, you can't get a 6-month pass. You can't get it till July.
but those are the things that hopefully this committee can solve, acquiring a pass. There's other ways than maybe how we do it. And I think as long as we do what our president said, come up with something by our budget, we'll be okay. And maybe we will have answered a lot of questions and come up with some solutions. That's all I think will happen. I don't think postponing it is going to be detrimental. I think it's going to be more beneficial. I know you feel differently, but
I think we had this discussion in December and the Prudence Island Planning Commission asked for action at that point. So then you're postponing 4 months from the time that they've come up with a solution that they thought would be beneficial. And I think again, by the time you get to April, you've got people coming back, right? And one of the challenges will be implementing it this year is still going to be difficult because really optimally you would initiate it for July, which is when things start. But
But something's going to be initiated in July. What the cost is and how it is run is still up in the air with this committee, with this particular motion. But there will be something in place July 1st that'll help us solve the 1 month, 1 week, 6-month sticker issues.
I know there was discussion about how much it costs to administer keep track of all the different.
It's difficult to figure in those soft costs, but they're definitely there. Yes. Yes. Thank you, Ms. Stevenson. Ms. Rossi, how are you?
My name's Pat Rossi, 896 Neck Farm Road, Prudence Island. I am a member of the Prudence Island Planning Commission. I'm here to speak for myself, not necessarily under them, but however you want to go about it. Full-time resident, been there all my life. So some of you know that. There's a lot of different things, a lot of things that have to be done different for residents on Prudence than residents on Aquidneck. But we're all under one township, and we do recognize that. But when one thing's not working in one area and it is in the other, you fudge and you make it work out. Right now, the first thing that came to the people on the island was the fiscal year changing. We have 82% of the people on Prudence that own homes are part-time. They're 6 months or 4 months. There is only 78 homes on the island that are occupied full-time, year-round. Most of them by retirees. living on a fixed income, that's their home. The ones that are coming back in May, we call them the snowbirds. They got here, found out there was a problem with, getting a 6-month sticker. Well, I'm not going to pay for 6 months if I can only go 4 months and get into all that. They all got together, every little neighborhood. I'll buy the sticker, I'll come around, pick up everybody's trash, you pitch in this, you pitch in that. And that's how it goes. We all know how the game's played. It's played over here too. So, but they don't all like having to go around the system. They'd like to play like everybody else. And we came up with the plan that the 6-month sticker should be July 1st to October 31st, because most of them leave in October. And also include May and June of the following year, because that's still in the same fiscal year. For whatever monies you decide. Right now it's $290. But at least they feel like they have the opportunity to pay what they are entitled and get what they feel they're entitled. So, one, I don't see why that can't be put in for this year. I realize it's not written that way on this agenda, but it is in the packet that was sent to you. The other thing is, if you do the 150, which at the end of the amendment, it states that would be our number one. We like that the best. Just across the board, every house, be done with it. At 150, 432, $65,480. Does that cover the total cost? Probably not, even close. However, our orange bags, they go into your energy fund. It's not revenue for Prudence. It's not taken out. Everything goes there. Any money from recycling goes in there. The metals, if they weigh them up, you get paid for the metal, it goes into the enterprise fund. That's not in our transfer budget. That just goes straight to Portsmouth. The other thing, if you go forward, Prudence in the winter, you have 8 hours a week that you can get to the dump. In Portsmouth, you have 48 hours a week that you can get to the dump. So the operation hours are significantly less. Not complaining about it, but I'm saying where we have saved money, where you're not running that transfer station the same as Portsmouth transfer station. So in some cases, you cannot look at us as totally the same. 5 years ago, maybe we put the compactor in, maybe 10, I don't know, I lose track. But there has been a change in the amount of dumpsters that go off because you upgraded it and now it's, is it called compacting?
Yes.
Yeah, okay. So they get more trash in them, more go off. They come down, when can we get one off? To the ferry company, I used to work there, I retired from there. But anyways, it would come down, when can we get one off? Would look, because it's tied, would look at it, okay, here. But it's not like you have to send it on this day. You have to send, DPW comes and says, listen, I got a full one, I got to get it out of here. So they're not going off half full. So a lot of this has already been taken. I know you want the numbers and want to see it, but a lot of this work has already been done. So I really would hope that you could sit back and just look at the whole picture, and you're going to make more money doing something such as the 150 across the board than you will with the stickers, because people will always buck the system with the stickers. And not all of us are trying to do that. Most of us are not. And it also, on the top line, it's going to help our elderly We have a lot of retired elderly that are on fixed income. So where we don't get it elsewhere, if you could help us there, would be a great, great deal. Thank you.
Thank you, Patty. Mr. Gleason.
I'd just like to make a couple comments. Where do you start on this thing? I think everybody's looking for a solution here, and I think that we want a solution that's going to cover, as Councilor McDowell has said, all three deficits that we're incurring right now. And I would back a plan of that nature. We used to go to Prudence on a little bit more of a regular basis. We haven't been there in a couple of years, so only two of us have been there, for 2 meetings. So we're out of touch with what goes on there. Let's be honest about it. It's a whole nother life over there, as you know. But a couple of things that we'd be raising here. How do we send that bill for $150? And it was mentioned, whether incorrect or wrong, as a tax. I don't believe it's a tax. It's a fee. But the only way you really can manage it would be to send it out as part of your tax bill. And, one way to handle it, I should say. You still would have the situation where you're expecting everybody to pay $150, and not everybody's going to pay that. You're going to expect them to go here. You're going to go to a counter over there. I imagine you could set up to accept money at the station there, but more than likely you'd be mailing it in. Do we chase people through the municipal court system that don't pay, and we still have a situation where we're looking for X amount of people and we don't have enough money? That's one variable to raise. The other is, if you own multiple properties over there, are you going to pay $150 per property? Because basically that's the way I would interpret it. So you're going to say this is one size fits all for everybody. And maybe the same approach is we need to do that in curbside and transfer station. So I think there's questions. We're not trying to hold this back from Prudence. We understand that people will be coming in. This year's snowbirds will be arriving in a few months. So we're not trying to hold it back. I think the intent is just to look at our deficits in general. And I worry that we've had a situation in the past where, and this was many years ago, where it was brought to the people on Prudence that you had to get rid of your unregistered or abandoned vehicles. And the island was cleaned off, unregistered. You couldn't drive them on the road anymore. And that extended, people got mad on Prudence, and they went back to us on the mainland. You got to get rid of yours now, because we're all Portsmouth. You can't just be doing things just for Prudence or doing things just for the mainland. So these all are things that need to be incorporated together, in my humble opinion. So do we assign a time frame to this, Counselor? I mean,
Well, Mr.
Make it-
Hamilton mentioned April 1st. I mean, in order to get it going, I would agree to it. I would love it to be extended a little bit, but we have to have committed people who are willing to give the time, the energy, and the effort to make it happen. So,
and you included the Solid Waste and Recycling Committee in that?
Yep.
Yeah.
Not all the members, just say.
No, just a representative.
Yeah.
Representative.
Representative
It
from
was,
each of the.
correct me if I'm wrong, but it's council, DPW, solid waste, Prudence Island Planning. Did I miss any? Were the 4?
There weren't,
Is there other?
Would you want the recycling coordinator with that as well?
Well, that's DPW, but yeah.
yeah, I
So whether
mean,
that's
that
Paul or
would
Colby.
be important. Yeah.
You said it. We know it's in there someplace.
Yeah, that's right.
I think I got it now.
I got to get the motion.
It was DPW, Town Council, Solid Waste and Planning.
So DPW could make it Colby.
Yeah.
Recycling coordinator. Ms. Keston?
Paul Kesson, 3241 East Main Road. I have one question for DPW. Do we have last year's numbers for the tonnages of solid waste for the separate Prudence Island account to make this calculation easy? then there's, okay, because right now, we only have 2 months. We have September and October. And that's like not quite beyond what Miss Rossi said, but those tonnages are only a 2 month sample. To what, if somebody was gonna study this, they'd have to have from May, which is when people are getting there and throwing stuff away, to probably 1 month after Labor Day weekend, and that would be your heaviest traffic. Right now, in the report we have given to us last month in Ryrack was 28 ton and 27 ton. I suspect that same number is fairly relative through the summer.
Any further discussion or questions? All right, we have one question online. I have a hand up. There it is. Mr. Spadaro, are you there?
Hi, John Spadaro, 0260 Aldero Farm Road on Prudence. I'm the chair of the Prudence Island Planning Commission, and I fully support both Pat Rossi and Karen Stevenson. On the other hand, I think there's merit to the idea that we actually do a little bit of analysis. When I tried to pull some numbers together, none of it really makes a whole lot of sense based upon the way things have been done historically. This money goes here, that money goes there. I think a comprehensive view would make sense. I think it's not necessarily all that difficult. I mean, while you can look at tonnages, at the end of the day, what we're really looking at here is total costs, and we should know that pretty carefully, and that would reflect any tonnages that have been paid all around the board, including recycling and money for metal waste. So I think doing a little analysis makes sense. I don't think it should be hard. The only group that I don't know the operations of the town well enough to know whether the folks at DPW have all the financial components that they would need, or whether we need someone who is more tightly involved with the budget and money's coming and going. So that's the only other thing that we might consider, is making sure that we have a financial person who knows how the Portsmouth accounts work, to make sure that we can get questions answered quickly.
Thank you, John. I don't know if we have to have a financial person on there, but we certainly can get answers to you quickly about where money goes. I mean, in a general sense, the money for the stickers on Prudence Island go into the general fund. The cost of the bags go into the enterprise fund, as Ms. Rossi had stated. Those are the two big cost drivers from Prudence Island. Mr. Rayner.
Just a slight correction. The year-round stickers
Right.
go into the enterprise fund. The temporary passes, 6-month stickers, so on and so forth, those go into the general fund.
So I guess I'll ask you, Mr. Rayner, if we get you're going to have to plug in last year's numbers to get us a budget by April 1st. The two enterprise funds, you're going to come with a recommendation anyways, but we can change that recommendation as we go forward through the budget process, and then also change how the funding mechanism happens at Prudence Island. And we'll just have to move those monies around in the budget as needed.
That's correct. One thing perhaps that you could, well, let me just say that I think regardless of what happens, the idea of the 6-month sticker that goes from July to October and then cuts off during the off season and comes back on in the May and June, I think that's an excellent proposal and would help alleviate a lot of the problems that they're having over on Prudence right now. And obviously that was exasperated when we went from a calendar year to a fiscal year. And I think that would, I'll plug that in as we're working on the budget. And then of course, we'll take whatever recommendations are approved by the council as we move forward in April.
As an ad hoc temporary committee, did they still have to have bylaws? No. Thank you. All right. We have Not a committee, a working group? Okay. I'm not going to repeat your whole motion, but it's to establish a working group to study all the components of trash for Portsmouth, and bring back a recommendation by April 1st.
Yep.
I'm paraphrasing,
Yeah,
of
I
course.
can-
But yes. Mr. Kessin?
Paul Kessin, 3241. So is there any council direction other than this?
The council, there are going to be members of the council on there, it's including.
I know, but
Mr.
what I'm saying is there like an initiative? Is it take care of Prudence first?
No, it's to take care of all three of them, or bring it back by April 1st.
Yeah, but there has to be community because it can't be, well, it can be whatever they want it to be, but do you want it to be, is the direction going to be to try to pay Prudence completely? Or is the direction to be raise the money that we can raise? And it's not me and you and my family taking trash to the dump. It's more of a community solution where we raise what we could. And for Prudence, the town's going to continue to pick up the shortage.
That'll be up to the committee to decide and bring back.
Right,
And then this
committee.
council would decide on it from there.
Okay.
Thank you, sir. Any other questions? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes 5-0. Next up, we have our monthly finance report for the month of November. Ms. Marsden?
Good evening, Mr. President and Honorable Council. As of November 30th, the town was 5 months or 41.6% into fiscal year 26. Year-to-date general fund revenues were up 44.65, driven primarily by real estate transfer fees, tax receipts, state aid, and investment interest income. Year-to-date general fund expenditures stand at 40.69% of the budget. Mr. Rayner has already touched base on the audit update, so I'll refrain from there. In addition, the FY27 budget development process is underway with departmental budget review meetings scheduled with finance starting today through January 23rd. And that's all.
Any questions for Ms. Marsden on the finance report? I have a motion to receive and place on file.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes 5-0. Next up, we have old business number 3, which is a request to have town staff and legal formulate various resolutions to address the town's legislative priorities that we passed on 12/8. Mr. Gleason.
Thank you, Mr. President. I brought this back because we had good conversation with our delegation, but we did not make a motion for any type of process to proceed with. So I brought it back to basically request the town and staff to formulate X amount of resolutions, and that's subject to this conversation. I have spoke to GOC on this in the past. And there are 16. I would not want to give the man 16 to do all at once. Maybe he'll come up with an innovative template, but I'm thinking, I came up with 4. And specifically mine were relative to the land use and zoning. That was actually starting with President Hamilton's, the revenue sharing.
I think we
had on
already
there.
did that one.
What's that?
I think we already did that one back in.
A past
Yeah.
resolution to
We
them?
did that,
You
yeah.
don't want to do it again?
No, we did
We
it.
did it
We did it.
for this count, for
It-
this.
We did.
Yeah, we did it for this calendar.
So
Or
all
this
the other-
legislative session. That's already done.
And all the other towns have seen that.
Yes.
Very good. Thank you.
Well, it's been sent to all the other towns.
Fair statement. Fair statement. So the other one was land use and zoning. And also there was a local tax classification authority. Let's see if I can describe that a little bit better. That was item number 5, which finished was this modification would align Portsmouth Authority with other municipalities and provide flexibility in local tax policy. I believe this was Mr. Helfins. And the last one I had here was our public records reform. Have you done that one yet, Jen?
Nope.
Would you like to do that one? I put it on there because I think the APA request needs some help you know, formatting, et cetera, at the state level, that would be beneficial to you and to other towns and cities. So you weren't here for that discussion. Maybe you saw it on the tape, but I'm sure you're aware of it. So that's my thoughts.
So you're asking for a motion
I can make a motion at this point if you like.
to
if nobody wants
direct
to contribute.
town staff and legal, depending on whose responsibility it would be, to create resolutions. My only caveat is if there is an actual, well, some of these don't have bill numbers or won't have bill numbers. So usually it's better if we have a bill number, but God knows when they'll be put in, if they will at all. So if there is, can you attach the bill number to it? If there isn't, then we'll just do a general. Ms. McDowell?
So is it my understanding we're going to do it for all of them?
That's up for discussion. I mean, I think that would be something that's never done before. But I mean, our delegates asked for at least two of them. And my general thought was, what harm would it do? Other than the fact there are no bill numbers on some of them. And it makes work for somebody.
So would it be that the people, the departments that brought this forward, they would work on it to do the resolution? Or I just think if we could limit them to, let's say, maybe, I had 6 priorities, and not have to do all of them. We could put all our focus on that and put all our energy on that. But I mean, certainly doing it for each one makes a statement as well. But
I mean, I had 4, but obviously one's been stated as already having been done for this year. So that starts at a 3. We'll see how the process works with our solicitor.
Yeah, I would just add, if, you know, having spent a lot of time up at the State House, the legislative process is what it is. It's very predictable. The bills will all be in at some point. Then we'll know what issues are being considered. I think some of these that you mentioned, Mr. Gleason, are not necessarily going to be in bill form yet. So putting them in now might inspire the delegation to address these issues prior to the bill submission deadlines. But there's nothing stopping you if a bill comes up and it's brought to your attention to do a resolution at that time. And honestly, that's more helpful for the legislators because it's a resolution that addresses the specifics of a bill that's in front of them. And so I would suggest doing both, maybe, you know, do a couple now that you might want to press onto the legislative agenda. But you can, you know, you have through June to do resolutions that will be considered at the committee hearings.
Unless they pass something before we get our resolution up to them. That's the only.
They're not good at that. They don't,
Yeah.
it's usually like
When they
2 weeks in
prefer the
June.
study.
Yeah, it's usually 2 weeks in June when the budget goes and then all the bills pass.
Sure.
So you.
The only thing
get a
that
window.
generally passes is a congratulations on marriage or, you know, something like that. That's
Right.
all that happens between now and June.
They hold them all for
They all
leverage
happen
and,
at the end.
then they trade the bills for budget votes when they need them. So.
Sure.
Mr. Reese?
Well, Mr. Gleason, you had revenue sharing, land use, the tax item and public records reform, and then the revenue sharing is already done.
Yes.
Oh, so you had the same 4 I did, because that's read them down on the land use tax, public record reform. That'd be the ones I'd want to concentrate on. I think those are very important.
And Ms. McDowell, you had 6. So what are your 6?
well, I really had 7, but that restoration of general revenue was one of them. So I had land use, zoning and housing, local tax classification, public records reform, continue the roadworks restore, but I think that sounds like it's on the right path.
I think we should still put something in there. It's in the right path for this year.
This year.
It's not necessarily in the budget for
I
27.
had that as number 4, and I had the public boating access infrastructure one as my last one.
So here is my thought process. Let's get the resolutions ready. And then as bills come out, we can just have them put on the following agenda as a bill number is out. If there's anything you want to put forward earlier, we can do that as well. But I don't know what we're going to be able to get in the next 2 weeks.
I think if,
Or 1 week
if the
technically.
solicitor just tried to do himself, it's going to be missing information. So I think it needs help from individuals,
Absolutely.
departments,
Yeah.
whatever we can contribute. So just getting a working draft and then perfecting it,
Okay.
especially if you got time.
So are we gonna do 3, 4, 6, all?
What's your
Well,
opinion?
the 6 encompass the 3.
Okay,
So there's actually 3 extras because
so 6 in
Mary
total.
had 7, but 1 is general revenue, it's already done.
Okay.
So 6 is not a ton.
Six is not a ton. I just need to, some guidance on what exactly you want to resolve, right? What is the opinion of the town council, specifically on some of these issues? There are a lot of, land use and zoning is a broad category. So.
Sure.
Well,
Please,
it's more, yeah, I mean, that would be unfortunately fall on our planner, but those are they're within the agenda item from back on the 8th.
You know, this,
Which is to restoring local control. I can say with the speaker in power, it's not gonna pass. Unless there's a new speaker in a couple weeks. So,
Again, to me, some of they asked them, that was one of them they asked for. I think it just shows that we're trying to do something. I think other towns would see what we are trying to do and then be in the same boat to want to do the same thing. Way I view it.
I mean, in terms of that one in general, there's been,
yeah,
I don't know, I'm gonna be guessing at the numbers, but a lot of bills in the past 3 years. So
30.
30.
probably more if you look underneath other bills. That's a general resolution to strip back some of the local control that was taken away. I don't think we need a bill number for that one. Roadworks paving, that we can do a general without a bill number. That's in the budget. That's not gonna see the light of day until June anyways. We can address that to the finance committee and our legislature. So, local tax classification that has a specific general law number. And there's already precedent with other towns, so I don't think that would be a specific Portsmouth bill, correct? That our legislators should be putting in at our request anyways. I don't think we need a resolution for that. Or do we?
They did request a resolution.
For that one, okay, so that one we have to have, okay. I'm sorry, I missed a couple of years. I'm going.
9, public records.
So records reform, definitely, we should have some kind of a standard way for people to do an opera request in this town. I was looking at the Department of Revenue's page, and they have a specific link for opera requests. So it exists out there somehow. Why we can't all do it the same way, I don't know. I don't know if somebody brings in a request to the Department of Revenue on a napkin that they're gonna get their request done, but we'll see. And you had the derelict and abandoned boats as well?
Well, I had the public boating access infrastructure.
Okay.
Derelict
Number-
was the
number
next
12.
one after.
Number
but
12, okay,
Yeah, number 12.
okay. So staff, as I look around the room, can we handle those 6? Yeah, okay. And I guess I would request bring them back as they're ready. We don't have to have all 6 next meeting. We don't have to have, but if you get 2 or 3 done, let's bring them back for the next meeting.
Is that something you do in executive session to?
No,
To work?
It's just a resolution that we say we want this from the state and then we blast it out to all the cities and towns so they say, hey, this is a good idea, or are these people nuts? We're not doing that. One or the other. So can I have a motion to approve those 6 that request resolutions from staff? I'm not gonna narrow it down to who it's gonna be done. Mr. Rayner will help dole that out.
So moved. That's good.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes 5-0. Next up, request, not a request. Rhode Island Department of Transportation's response to we're not gonna sign this letter.
Right.
So now we have to sign this and just not pay for any
Yeah,
of these
so this-
upgrades.
Obviously, this item's been before the council before, and since then, Rideout has come back and said that they will not accept the revisions that we proposed to the construction and maintenance agreement. This is regarding the pending paving project in Sprague. So their position is straightforward. If a municipality asks for Opticom, RIDOT installs it and the town maintains it. They say that it's been their policy statewide for years and they're not willing to make an exception. If we don't sign the agreement as written, RIDOT has told us that they'll remove the Opticom systems from the project scope. And for those that aren't aware, the Opticom system is that automated system that changes the light in favor of the emergency response vehicle that needs to get through the intersection, activated by a piece of equipment in the vehicle. Our concern was never about the installation of the systems. It was about locking the town into an open-ended maintenance obligation on state-owned signals, and that's why we tried to make the maintenance discretionary. Obviously, RIDOT declined that approach. So we've looked into this, and as part of looking into this, it looks as though the town requested these Opticom systems back in the 1990s and agreed at that time to maintain them. However, we can't find any record of Opticom specific maintenance costs in our budgets in the last 30 years. So that suggests that these systems have not been a cost driver historically, especially in regard to maintenance, and they don't break down. Otherwise, we would have heard about it. So I've spoken with both the chief of police and the fire chief, and they are supportive of installing the Opticom systems from an operational public safety standpoint. So we're really at a policy decision point. If the council wants the Opticom systems installed as part of this project, then we need to sign RIDOT's standard agreement and accept the maintenance responsibility as we've apparently had for the last 30 years. If not, RIDOT will move forward without the Opticom. So from a practical standpoint, the costs appear to be modest, i.e. non-existent, and there is a public safety benefit. So our recommendation is that we go ahead and sign the C&M agreement.
Mr. Reese?
Well, when I read this, I had a whole bunch of things that came to my mind. You probably answered some of them. I did hear some answers in there. And it's like there is no known cost for maintenance of these systems, so you can't budget for an unknown amount. Is this a maintenance item by the state? Do we pay the state? Or is this like a maintenance agreement with a private contractor, or does the state come and fix them and we pay them? That's
No.
one question.
It's that we would bear the costs of the maintenance as required on these systems. However, that has not been done.
Are there other towns like Middletown or any of the other towns?
Yes.
How are they working it and what are they paying? Because somebody's
Well-
fixing these. Either that or they never break, but nothing ever
Well,
breaks.
Um,
I want one of
Most,
those.
I reached out to the League of Cities and Towns. I've reached out to my fellow town administrators and the ones that have answered the questions. Quite frankly, they sign them and then forget about it. There have been some towns that have said, no.
No, but I mean, they must have some numbers somewhere that, or they never break. I mean, these are really good. They should make cars like that.
I wish my computer worked that way,
Yeah.
but.
Mr. Reese, here's the issue.
Okay.
It's an item that if it breaks, it's in a system that only the DOT can get into.
Okay, yeah, because.
So
I
if it
kept
does
getting
break,
down.
they go in and fix it. So this is being pushed down from the top, but the people at the bottom who actually do the work are just fixing them.
All right,
Your specific question was about Middletown, and Middletown has not budgeted for this.
all right. And the other thing is, this is what's going into the new system. Is this now for all the Opticom systems that are in town now?
Gets even better. No.
So it's only these that we're gonna
It's-
be
it's
responsible for the
only-
maintenance of? If
it's
the other
only
ones
the
break,
lights- it's
who
only
fixes
the
them?
light
No, no, so
intersection.
this is a good question. If the
I know,
other
it's-
ones break,
it's-
who fixes them?
Yeah, I'm trying to answer your question. It's only the systems that are identified in that C&M agreement, and there's
what
only, I
I
think,
thought.
about 3 or 4 lights. that
When I
are-
read it, I said, we're gonna be on the hook for a couple of them, I think.
Yeah.
All right. So nobody's been maintaining the in-place Opticom systems.
Somebody has, because like you said,
It wasn't
nothing's
us.
perfect.
Yeah, all
They
right.
break,
Well, yeah,
so.
all right. And I have another question for the fire chief and police chief. Is Opticom the latest technology, or is this gonna get superseded? What's coming down the road that's better than that? Because isn't that just basically a flashing light that is picked up by a sensor or something?
Yeah, but it turns the lights for them.
Well, I know, but
Yeah.
that's,
That's it.
you know, I don't know whether they got mechanical relays in the boxes still.
Well, it's in, yeah, it's,
It's the state, you know?
Good evening. I can't speak to what might come out in the future to eliminate it, but I don't,
The cutting edge.
I don't know of any other system that's in play. I'm sure someone's trying to get something better. Opticom is the one brand that I know of that departments, police and fire, and communities go with. Just to clarify what happens, our apparatus are purchased now with what's called an
that's built in.
emitter. And it is a light, a flashing light that goes on with our emergency lights. So when you approach an intersection that has an Opticom system, it gets picked up that our apparatus are coming in that direction, turns the light green for those cars to move forward and get out of the way.
And they're reliable and they work and you're good.
But-
with them? No, I'm just,
As far as I know, most of my career responding, years ago, we didn't have them when I was in Fall River. We do have them on, basically on West Main Road here. I've spoken to my guys. They go on automatically, so they work for
No,
us.
they work.
We don't have a problem with it, but if I flip my lights on, it's gonna turn that light green.
and these are critical, these new intersections are critical, I would think, where they are.
Well, any intersections are, we
Well,
we
yeah,
have,
that's true.
we have other intersections that don't have them, basically East Main Road. It would be obviously in our benefit to have, and the people's benefit that we're responding to have them at every light. I'm sure there's a very high cost with each one. But what we have and anything going forward, like these new lights, certainly would be in our best interest and the residents' best interest to
I
have
get
them.
my hand around the whole package. So it sounds like they'd be more expensive to install than they would be to maintain.
Sounds like they haven't been costing us anything to
You're not saying,
maintain.
gee, they break all the time or they don't work. Usually
No.
you get a good feeling that they're good and reliable.
They've been fine for us. Chief?
Yeah, I agree with what the chief said. This was a game changer. I was here when these were instituted 25 or so years ago. And obviously before that, you'd pull up to an intersection, you have to come to a complete stop, you'd have to wait. If it was rainy weather, if it was foggy, you'd have to wait till the intersection was safe to proceed. This was a complete game changer where now you could proceed down the street and you knew that you had those intersections and it could clear the intersection. It could eliminate confusion on the motorists where, how do I yield? When do I yield? Where are the police going? So the lights would turn for it. So besides making the intersections safe for motorists, it made it safe for the officers, that the officers could now proceed, and this became a game changer. And our only regret is that there are not more intersections. But to answer your question, we have seen it that all of a sudden we're driving down and those emitters don't work. And then miraculously, months later, they're working. So something's happening. They are being fixed. So it's happening. And like Mr. Reyna said, I've never for the police department seen a bill come to the police department for this, and they do work. So we do support it. I support it for the safety of the officers as well as the motoring public.
So we would need a motion to approve myself and Mr. Rayner and Gio, I think, so all three of us, to sign the agreement from RIDOT.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes 5-0.
Good luck to us.
Let's pray.
Just keep your
That's
head
like
down.
jumping off the escape bridge for the first time.
No.
It's going to end up,
As
right?
long as it was high tide, you were okay.
As long as it's high tide.
Yeah.
Keep your legs closed.
New business number 1, request approval of Prudence Island Planning Commission bylaws. They've been running somewhat rudderless without bylaws. They have been approved and tweaked by our solicitor. Any questions on the bylaws? If not, do we have a motion to approve?
Actually,
Yep, let's see.
I got one.
You have a question? Welcome back.
Thank you.
She had to get one in tonight, right?
Absolutely. Under the Section 2 appointments, they have applications will be routed by the clerk's office to the commission chairperson for vetting by current members of the commission. We don't do that. What happens is,
Send it to us.
if something, if they know of somebody, they have them fill out the form, it comes to us, we give it to the council for approval. The clerk does not vet, the other group does not, the committee does not vet. So we would like that taken out.
Okay. I'm good with that. So is there a motion to approve?
Can I
with
ask
the- yes.
one
Yeah, you
question
can
that
ask
just kind
anything,
of
but-
interests me? All right, it goes under membership. It says general, and it says the commission shall consist of 7 members who own property. Well, that made sense. Reside or work on Prudence Island. Does that mean like the oil burner man can be on the? That one got me at work on Prudence Island.
Well, well, I don't know.
That, no, that just,
Here comes, John, you want to explain that one?
yeah, that's got me.
Sure, sure. So, the oil burner man, maybe, but
That's
I
what it said,
really,
so.
that was in reference to there are people whose full-time job is on Prudence, specifically, Nebner. So that was sort of opening it up for people who are on an organization, that actually they work on the island 40-hour a week. That opened it up to them
I
being.
thought that had to be a special instance like that. That's what I figured, really, but
Yeah.
it just jumped out at me. Okay.
Yeah. And if I can speak to the question of the applications, I know that's not the current procedure for the town clerk's office. It's just that if in fact we do have more applicants than positions that are open, that it gives the commission an opportunity to help the town council understand and decide the best course of action. That was sort of the purpose of that.
John, I appreciate that, but I think we'll save you the headache of not giving the look of the fact that you're trying to keep certain people out. If that makes
enough.
any sense.
Sure.
Yeah. Let us take the slings and the arrows so you don't have to, since you have to live with these folks. So we're going to remove we're going to strike the sentence that says applications shall be routed through clerk's office to the commission chairperson for vetting by current membership. The chairperson will send. So applications will just follow the normal process. So if, yep, yes.
Just looking here, some picky stuff here. It looks like there's a Article 6 goes over to Article 8. So just a little bit of numbering work that needs to be looked at, you know what I mean? Article 6 meetings and notices goes into Article 8 order of business and rules of orders, just be changing 8 to 7 down the line, et cetera.
Okay.
And for ease of a readability, because I get caught on this recently. So if you went to, no, it's there. Okay. So well, no, it's not. If you go into Article 5, Section 1 chairperson, it starts with Section 1. Those could all be A, Bs, and Cs, as opposed to numbers. That came from our legal department.
Under
But
duties
that
of
doesn't matter.
officers?
Yeah. Well, and there's
Is that
a
what you-
couple of spots that are like that.
Okay,
But that,
It starts
yeah.
I
after
don't think that
but-
makes a big difference on
Yeah,
that one.
it
But
doesn't.
but we certainly
But
should change
We should change that other one.
6, 7, and 8.
Yep.
Okay. So revisions,
So
number correctly and remove the membership application process.
motions to approve the bylaws with the corrections, additions, et cetera.
Second.
Ms. Vitale?
I just have a question. Do we have, is this set up what all the committees use?
Similar.
Yeah. Okay, so that helps.
It's not exactly boilerplate, but it's somewhat boilerplate.
Mostly?
Yeah.
Okay, thanks.
Any other questions? All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes 5-0. On to new business number 2, request to have minutes submitted by town boards, commissions, and committees placed on the consent agenda as acknowledged for a record. No discussion or action required. We probably should have taken that part out because we do have to discuss and take action. So Ms. Patton, I believe your request is just that boards and commissions and committees send their minutes to the clerk and they put them on the consent agenda.
Correct, yeah.
Okay.
I just think it makes it, easier for the public and everybody to know where they're at. And they can go there and just get them, similar to what we do for the town council.
I would respectfully ask that we just put the link for each, under each board and committee to the Secretary of State's website. Once you start getting all of the other ones in on the agenda center on the pages, it's gonna bog down everything, number one. Number two, that's double the work, because then we have to upload everything, chase after those people. We have to build in that information for those agendas and minutes. The way it was originally said, it was for like the big four. So town council, school committee, zoning and planning. A few others had gotten put in throughout the years, but it's better if we can do that, because once they're put in and they're on the Secretary of State's website, it comes in at the bottom of the page under the feed that something's been added.
Well, I think too, though, the issue is the Secretary of State site doesn't have any backup. There's no, so our agendas, there's no backup on that site.
There is now, because everything that we have that click here.
For the council,
Right.
but I'm talking about for the committees and everyone else. So say
Well-
like the
well-
dog park committee is not on. If we put that on there, you could put their agendas on there and their minutes.
Their
already on
minutes
the
get
Secretary of
uploaded
State.
on the Secretary of State's website.
I understand, but not everybody goes to that. I just
Well,
think
that's why
it's a
I'm
lot
saying if
easier
it-
to have all of them on there. I guess there's like 10 that
There's-
are in there,
there's
and there's
20
probably about
there-
10 that are not.
22 committees
Mhm.
that are on there.
I understand. I understand.
And
Just
it's,
trying to make it the same for everyone. It's a
which-
lot easier.
Which is why we're saying, from our perspective, if it's linked to the Secretary of State's website, it's there. They're uploaded, and both agendas and the minutes.
Are you suggesting, or do we just keep all the links for them on our consent agenda on every agenda for us? Or just as you are notified that there is a date for the planning board, you'll put that link in?
We'll put the link in.
And Jen, it's a link to a specific meeting agenda and a specific set of minutes, right?
Well, you can, it'll link up to
Yeah, well,
that main
yeah.
page where they can put in
But,
planning board.
but if you go directly into planning board, August 22nd minutes, you
Mhm.
can copy that URL and just stick it in there. And if you click on that hot link, it'll take you right to that URL, that page.
Right.
As opposed to having to go and find the 22nd and then the minutes and all that good stuff. So in terms of work for staff, I think that is easier, that as they're put in, we just put the link in, the consent agenda. And then people can just look and click and go. Mr. Fitzmaurice, question, comment, concern? Happy New Year.
Thank you, Mr. President. Larry Fitzmaurice, 50 Kristen Court. Sorry for the vote. I operate with a Windows 11 operating system through AOL as a browser. I cannot get into the Secretary of State's website detail on these things. So I don't know how unique that is, whether I got blackballed by the state or whatever. But I suspect that many other people can't get in as well. I know if you use an Apple machine, you can, but I've been unable to do that through a number of generations of computers. So I would just point that out. If you do that, I can't get at any of it. Thank you.
I have Windows 11, I can get in, so.
We use,
It's the browser support. The state only supports really 2 browsers effectively.
But you can still, you don't have to use the AOL browser. You can still use
Chrome or Edge or
Firefox,
Safari.
Google. So that would be the suggestion, Mr. Fitzmaurice. Try like Chrome or Firefox, downloading that and just using that as your browser. Then none of them work.
Can't say that.
Okay. Okay. Mr. Casson?
Thank you, Mr. President. Paul Kesson, 3241 East Main Road. This agenda item number 3 is not going to require me to learn how to put a link in my agendas, right?
No,
Okay,
it's going to require you to get the minutes to the Secretary of State's website and alert the clerk that it's done.
checking a box. The other
that
ones are
she
too
can
hard.
Put it on the next.
The other ones are too hard to try to attach
Yeah.
documents like you guys have them at the town
Correct.
council. meeting.
That's, we're trying to avoid messed up agendas on our end too. So do we have a motion to approve the consent agenda with the link from the Secretary of State's website, excuse me?
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes 5-0. That was number 3, right? 2. Number 3 was similar to number 2. We kind of could put them together, but
Yeah, number 3, sorry, is just so that we can have them when they come in, you know, and they're listed on our consent agenda. And if there's something that we see we want to pull, then we can pull those. Just keeps on track and that we know that they're done. I think that there's been a lot of, at the end of the year, I know that I get notifications for different committees, and there was a lot of notifications of minutes from different committees that were kind of catching up over the year that were late. And I just think, you know, if they're on there and if, you know, say there's something interesting or something that a counselor wants to pull the agenda, they can do that. So that's similar to what I saw in Tiverton. So that's where I got it.
okay, so what is your request? I'm sorry, I'm there.
To have-
Oh, it's different than what is written here.
Yeah, the other one was for the website.
Yeah.
This one is to have them listed on correspondence.
No, that was number 2. We just did that.
Oh, so I
So
meant.
did you have them backwards?
Yep, sorry, that's my fault.
So you want all committee meeting minutes listed on the town's website? That's number 3.
Yeah, I did them backwards, I'm sorry. It wouldn't be individual committees doing it. They would just submit their information to the clerk's office and the clerk would update it.
Does the clerk office update those or does,
No.
no? I got 2
So,
shaking heads. I got Kathy.
Individuals, committees do it themselves on the
On the second-
town's website? No,
They do it on the Secretary of State's website and that link goes back to the town's website somehow.
Right, at the RSF.
if they're listed on the town site.
No, if they file with the Secretary of State's website, it automatically, the feed will come up at the bottom of our homepage. And it'll say, for instance, a meeting or whatever, and then you can link to it. And that'll have the agenda or the minutes were posted.
Maybe I'm looking at a different
I think.
spot on,
No, I think
our
you're looking
town
at two different
site.
things. So when you look at the town's agenda center,
yes,
it doesn't list all the committees that are on the state's website.
Right, because we have to build, well, all the ones that are on that, we build.
Okay.
We have to go in and create them.
So we have to go in,
Right.
we have to task town staff with creating these on the website.
And then we
Which
have
would
to
be-
update them for every single meeting. And every,
Because currently we have design review board, economic
there's like-
development.
right, economic development had been put on by Mr. Talipsky
Yeah.
back when he was doing the website.
Yeah, pension advisory, planning board, charter review, which doesn't exist until next year or the year after.
Mm.
Housing authority, tax assessment, technical review committee, town council and zoning.
mhm. Yeah, it's
I
like
mean-
solid waste, dog park, park and rec, harbor commission, you know.
School committee, that would be a nice one to be on our page.
Mhm. I didn't know.
it's on
I didn't
theirs.
put that one on there but yeah. So I mean,
Oh,
I like to just start with some. If we can try to get, you know, if you can't do them all right now, I understand, but I just think it helps people, you know, there's a lot of people that go to the town's website to look for these or they get notified and there's some that you can't find. And if you can't get onto the state site, then what?
Agree to disagree on that.
All right. So who put these items on, or these boards on this section on the agenda set?
I inherited town council. The planning board does theirs, the zoning board does theirs. Pension investment does
And
theirs.
Specifically, it's the employees that are tied to those. So, planning board, zoning board, you've got a planning officer, you got a zoning officer, finance, a pension, finance officer. So they have an interest and they put those on there, but there's some that most of the committees don't have any employee involvement. So I suspect that's why they're not in that feed. But if you go to the bottom of the webpage, every time they put something on the Secretary of State site, you get an RSS alert and it shows up at the bottom of the webpage. That's how it is right now. But specifically who built that, those were built by the employees when this was being built. Some of them are quite old, I see.
So what type of work would it take to have the other 16 committees added on there, or 14 committees, I'm guessing,
No, there's 22 total, so.
active?
Mhm. So
So there's
we would
one,
be doing that.
1, 2.
So we would be doing that.
I have a comment.
The work is, there would have to be a dedicated staff member who is tracking this because they're the only ones. And not everybody has the access to get into the backbone of the web. So there's only a few employees that have that training and have access to all the coding behind the scenes. So, I mean, is it possible? Absolutely, yes. How much work I can tell you, I don't know right now. It depends on how much they receive. From the committees.
Can we, how about we meet halfway? Can we put the 11 links to the Secretaries of State website where our committees are already putting their stuff on there without having to, so that if somebody's looking for something, they can just go and click on that. They come to the town's website, they see the Conservation Commission, they click on it, and it goes directly to the Secretary of State's website, specific page.
Capital ID.
That's what I was trying to
I just
say on
said
the
it better
first
than
one.
you then, huh?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, you're much
The-
more eloquent. I think we can do
the-
that easily.
So can I ask who uploads the housing authority?
Me,
So you do that one too?
yes.
Okay. Thank you.
But if we have them on there as hot links, they go directly to that. So they don't have to go in there and look at Portsmouth and date range and committee, and that's the wrong committee. It doesn't exist anymore. Okay.
That's a great idea.
Somebody make a motion for that? Or say so moved?
So moved.
Thank you.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes 5-0.
I knew those were good.
The headlights, sorry.
Yeah. You were just so ready to jump on new business number 4, which is discussion and action to garner support to enact a moratorium to examine the effects of 30 bills enacted by the General Assembly over the last several years. I still think there's more than 30, but, with bits and pieces in there, but
30 is just a quote from our planner's
Yep.
perspective. So,
Mr. Gleason.
Mr. President and fellow councilors, a lot of work has been done on this. I try to include as much backup in here as possible, but I do have something prepared I would like to read here tonight. Thought of a moratorium on large-scale housing projects and the effects on Portsmouth have been on my mind for some time now. I've sat through many planning board meetings over the last 20+ years where I have followed various developments in town, but the 3 recent projects within a mile or so of the Otter Bethune House have shown the reality of the changes brought about by the House Leader and General Assembly and how they impact our community. I'll try to keep my comments simple and concise about this agenda item, even though there really is way too much to say. I've talked to citizens also concerned about what I will call the new rules to bypass the town's existing rules to promote low to moderate income housing, or simply LMI. The proposed moratorium, which I view as just a pause, is a combined effort to highlight the many concerns that have been raised, and is just a starting point for development by the council together with the planning board, town planner, and legal, should it be supported by a council majority tonight. Before going any further, I want to say that I am in favor of Portsmouth having LMI housing. but that I have voiced my concerns to our current planner about whether we can ever achieve the 10% requirement. I questioned her and the previous planner about the units that were supposed to be built, remain unbuilt today by the developers of Carnegie Abbey and the Aquidneck Club related properties. I've inquired about the 7 LMI units that are supposed to be built in what I call the Prescott Point area at the town line on West Main Road. To me, the developers of these 3 projects are the total opposite of those that are in business today that focus on buildable, affordable housing for a different sector of home buyers in Portsmouth, like Church Community. In my opinion, the new rules benefit Church Community housing. However, my intent with a moratorium or pause would only be for a short defined period of time and not affect their existing projects on Sprague Street, nor the project by others on Turnpike Ave. I believe that the planning board was able to enact changes and revisions to the Adi Bethune house during its development, and we ended up with 54 units on a much larger property than the approved units on Sprague Street. That is, they met all the local ordinances in place at that time. The 2 Sprague Street projects were able to bypass, my word, local ordinances and received many variances due to the 30 or so laws that our planner recently publicly mentioned that have been enacted over the last 3 or so years. These projects have been described to me by many as being considered as too large for the lot, with too little parking and what seems like a substandard size septic system somehow approved by Rhode Island DEM. Members of the planning board, who I believe have as difficult of a job as a town council member in regards to decision-making, have their hands tied when making decisions about LMI projects, as the new legislation has made those decisions for them. Public comment has become a moot point and has even been cut off during at least one meeting that I'm aware of. I've watched as planning board members spoke about approving the development despite the many concerns raised, as the board had no choice but to approve based on how the land use laws are currently written and understood. Here, I believe the key word is understood. Our planner has said that planners in most, if not all, Rhode Island cities and towns belong to a planners organization. I don't know what that official term would be. And many, if not most, don't comprehend the land use laws enough to explain it to others, whether they be developers or abutters to a project, let alone to their own planning board. Part of suggesting this pause is to get up to speed with the laws before the next anticipated laws are introduced, and to determine if there are any actions that a planning board can make for the betterment of Portsmouth regarding variances requested. Also of importance includes, but is not limited to, the potential negative effects on our roadways, evacuation routes, and emergency response vehicle routes, as well as the effects on Portsmouth water supply, the effects on individual septic systems, and any potential groundwater saturation, the effects on local property values, the effects on owners' investments and future sales of LMI properties based on deed restrictions, the effects on individuals that own manufactured homes. And again, I'll mention not currently covered statistically as LMI or affordable housing. The effects on Portsmouth's current zoning restrictions, like land density in our comp plan from 2022. While I have not had any direct conversations with planning, I recently discussed this concept in very limited terms with our town administrator and council president. I have had several conversations with Solicitor GOC over the last 6 months, including as recent as this past Friday, when we discussed concerns such as money for studies, like a new proposed traffic study recently discussed by the planning board that I would highly support. His suggestion in this case is to ask our legislative delegation to fund some of the necessary studies to ensure the town is not overburdening roads, utilities, schools, etc., and not overburdening one particular area of town with LMI projects. I have copies of his 1926 letter to me that speaks to the town discussing whether adjustments can be made at the town level to distribute LMI housing projects more fairly to help limit the impact on the character of the town. I've left these with the clerk. I believe you have those copies. Most importantly, it is made clear in his letter that the town cannot on its own put a moratorium for LMI/comprehensive permit housing in place, but that it can request that the state modify the restriction they put in Rhode Island General Laws 45-53-4D. So before going any further, not knowing if there is a majority vote to move forward with the potential of a moratorium, I make the following motion. A motion for the support of the town council to draft and approve a resolution to impose, quote, impose a temporary moratorium on certain housing and land development projects, unquote, in Portsmouth with input from planning and legal, and develop a plan moving forward within 2 town council meetings for submittal to the Rhode Island legislation and to all Rhode Island cities and towns.
Okay. That again. Okay, so, I'm just gonna bring up Rhode Island General Law that was passed in 2024, which was House 791 Substitute A. And if we're gonna go down that path, it is stated here, for the proposal of such a moratorium shall be advertised in a newspaper of local circulation for at least 14 days in advance of a hearing. So if we're gonna instill a moratorium, we would have to advertise it for 14 days in a local paper, which would be twice. And we wouldn't be able to have a hearing on that moratorium, which then a moratorium under this provision shall not last longer than 120 days, would have to be held on February 9th. Is my reading of the law. So that by my reading of it, we can't unilaterally do a moratorium this evening.
No, and that is not my intent.
Okay,
My intent is just to start down this path, whether right or wrong or indifferent, because the odds are slim with the rules that are in there, how far we get with this. Because I think the document you sent today actually has changed, the 120 days has actually changed to 60 days as of late, and it's a tighter time frame. If you can come up with the right category to address your moratorium, because most of my letter I started with, when I put this in and did more research on it, I've started to call it a pause, because a moratorium may or may not be possible, but we as a town should not just say, all right, we're going to rubber stamp that everything that's through, in my humble opinion. And I think that there's room for us to look. We can't get the General Assembly to change their minds about what they've enacted, which is a fair statement. Probably won't happen. There are probably some things that we can do in our comp plan, so that we're not approving every variance requested. That's just a thought. We can hear from Leah on that. But basically, I'm hoping that whatever we provide with our resolutions we discussed under old business and whatever we come up with today may spark some interest with other similar towns, because I know other towns are talking about these issues that we're up against, where Portsmouth isn't in this by themselves. I think Leah has expressed some concerns that she needs some help. I think she's going to ask for some money tonight to do these studies, but you have it in your budget already for the transportation study?
Working on my budget right now.
I think you're going to be asking me for some money for that. For the town, I should say. Anyways.
so let's take things one at a time. So you want to put a resolution together to ask the General Assembly to fund these studies, and so we don't have to pay for them ourselves?
That was suggested as one item there. It's asking them, you have the letter there, I handed out tonight? If I may.
Oh, you didn't keep a copy for yourself?
I have one. It's in this stack of papers. We as a town can request that the state modify the restriction they put in Rhode Island General Laws 4553-4D, which says municipalities should not restrict comprehensive permit applications and permits by any locally adopted ordinance or policy that places a limit or moratorium. Let's see here. It does say here, it's an opinion, I guess, from our legal, that the statute is clear, but it may not be the complete bar to preservation of the character of Portsmouth that some think it is. The towns in general have rights to self-governance under the Rhode Island Constitution. And it would be interesting, I would agree, to try and establish where the state and town boundaries on these issues lie. I'm not saying this is an uphill battle, but I think it's a start to an awareness that we can't just there's no one size fits all for every town and city in Rhode Island. And that's what we've come down to here. So some expression of how Portsmouth feels about that, I think, is necessary to provide to the General Assembly.
Okay, Mr. President, can I just, before Leah goes, can I just fill out a thought on that point? These are new laws and they've not really been run through the courts yet. And so a lot of the questions we have as to where the boundaries between town control and state control, those really haven't been answered. Like every law, there's gray areas, there's questions about definitions of words. What is a limitation? Could the town say we have enough density in this one neighborhood, so we want to now have any more LMI in a different neighborhood? Maybe that's permitted under the law. It's not clear. But I just want to say, when I say it's an interesting question, when a lawyer says it's an interesting question, that usually means it's an expensive question to answer, right? So
Correct. So if we were to go down, just to expand on that a little bit, if we were going to fight the state or deny an application, we could either get sued or we could turn around and say, hey, we denied this application because it doesn't align with state law or
I think
bad state law.
there's two ways. One is sort of a broad, the state law is not clear. We should be able to deny these because of X, Y, and Z reasons consistent with our comprehensive plan. The other is, trying to set some boundaries as to, are 30 variances required by the state mandate? Or could we say we're not going to give anyone more than 10 variances on a project? There's some things that we could try to, with the policy direction of the council, we could test. And yes, the developer would, most likely appeal, and there's a cost to fighting those appeals. But I think that's just a decision the town has to make at some point. At what price do you pay for not doing that versus what price do you pay for testing the boundaries here and seeing what that legislation really means?
Okay. Were you going to say something, or you want to go to Leah?
I was going to say something, but I think
Okay.
she's been waiting there patiently, so.
Please say what you need to say and then I'll make my comments.
I was just thinking that, we still don't really have a good direction on what happens when you get to 10%, should we ever get there. I mean, does that mean we don't have to do this anymore? I mean, that's not clear. Rhode Island has one land court judge, Mr. Lamphere, I believe his name is. And, I can't attest to the accuracy of the articles, but they are written in local papers that he has problems deciphering what has been enacted. So we have some issues all around because of this. I think the person that probably understands it most that we're up against is Mr. Shikarsky. I didn't know until I read recently about his potential run for governor that he is a land use lawyer. So he probably knows more than most of us in this room. Anyways.
I'll answer the 10% part. You can never get there because it always moves. Because as you build more houses that aren't LMI, it drops that number again.
That's a reason to have a no one size fits all. Maybe 5% is
Don't
number
disagree.
for a town.
Ms. McDowell? And
Yeah.
then we'll get to Leah.
In regards to what our town solicitor said, regarding to fight the fight is going to have dollar signs attached to that. But I think I remember, Leah, you saying that other planners have come together or are talking about this and trying to come up with a plan for this. So my question is do you feel, or even our town solicitor or anybody, that there's a coalition of towns that are upset and willing to fight the fight And if so, couldn't these towns get together and fight it legally? And the cost would be spread throughout them? What's your feel on, I know you mentioned that one time in something, either a meeting I attended or here, that there is some sort of coalition between planners.
I don't
that
think
are-
I mentioned coalition.
Well,
It's
the wrong.
the Rhode Island Planners Association. That's the group that I hang out with on Friday afternoons, and we talk planning stuff. We are constantly trying to fix the language from previous year's bills where we find holes that don't mesh well with another bill. So where it's a constant fixing of bills. And yes, there have been about 30 bills passed since 2024, and there will probably be a slew of bills this upcoming session, which is why I can't put together a solid resolution at this point for a land use resolution, but it will be coming. Your introduction to the agenda item was really packed with a lot of information. And you know, it was hard to get this agenda item on a Wednesday with being able to provide a lot of detailed information for Monday night. I have to say that everything is regulated by either DEM, a state agency, to have this moratorium, which I don't know how else other to say this, and it sounds very draconian. I'd like to take opportunities to really read through the Housing 2030 plan that just got approved through the Department of Housing, which they are finally taking a different approach in terms of taking back the one size fits all. We, as Portsmouth, fall into sort of a, not rural community, but one of a community that the state is aware we're not going to make the 10% anytime soon. And I'd like to take this time to read through that plan and see how the state wants us to meet the goals and policies of creating affordable housing in the near future. It just came out in mid-December. And I think when we're creating this affordable housing, yes, Portsmouth did get a lot of infusion of recent projects, but in all honesty, I have to say it's nothing near where other towns are getting a host of affordable housing projects. But yes, as a Portsmouth residents around here, you probably think like we just got bombarded with a lot of affordable housing. And yes, it does seem to appear that it's in the NOPO district of town. But as it was mentioned already, to put a moratorium in, it has to be very specific. And unfortunately, I think that the ones that have already been approved a moratorium is not applicable to them. And anything else that has either been vested or has some certification of approval, those projects have to move forward. I want to make that clear.
So I did watch a good portion of, I believe, is it her name, Angela?
Was it what?
Angela? No, started with an A, but either way. She's the grand poobah of your coalition.
Ashley Sweet. Yes,
Right.
I watched that. Yeah.
So she did a very nice job of explaining that planners don't necessarily have an issue with some of the laws,
Mhm.
but it's the implementation process and the fact that you're getting hosed down with a fire hose, trying to soak this all in while having to do your comprehensive plans and God forbid your regular job. And it's just too much. And I think her request was just, can we pump the brakes a little bit
Mhm.
until we can catch up and stop throwing this stuff at us? She did a very nice job of putting that forward to the committee, which I think fell on deaf ears, but that's okay.
I think it was sort of similar to what I had said a few nights
Yeah.
earlier.
Yes. So, any questions for?
Not a question for you, but it relates to what Dave is talking about and what you're talking about, and I want to direct it to Gio. All right, in your lawyer world.
Mr. Reese, is your, So you might-
Just lean to your microphone so we can
Oh,
hear. you.
no,
People can hear you.
you're in lawyer world. What do you see from other towns, probably with all the other connections you have? Are there other people that are like-minded, that are also interested in filing an action, that are sure how to do it? Like we are tonight, trying to start out to maybe a little pushback on this?
There are, there's, it's, I mean, I hate to say it's early, and this has been years now that we've been sort of dealing with implementing these 30 bills, right? But there's still a litany of cases. Providence had one recently. Warren is fighting a 400-unit development on former farmland, Settlers Green. There are people, there are towns, planning boards who are rejecting or forcing these things to appeal. We don't know how it's going to play out. But I think talking to other solicitors, talking to folks who are in communities similar to Portsmouth, I think there's a great fear that
Do you
that
feel?
it's going to be an overwhelming problem.
Do you feel it's getting traction?
No.
Like what we're doing or anything, or
I don't-
more people are getting involved with trying to fight this?
I don't want to say it's not getting traction. I haven't seen that. I can't say that I've seen that. I haven't seen a coalition yet, whether it's the League of Cities and Towns or the Planning Association. I haven't seen
How about resolutions? I mean, what do you?
no, I haven't seen much of that either. And I think they would come to you, right? I mean, most towns will send them to you. You would have seen them. I think people are, it was an overwhelming shift. I mean, just editorializing here, it was an overwhelming shift in the land use law for the state of Rhode Island. And I think, as Leah points out, we're not able to pump the brakes to sort of implement this in an orderly fashion. And we've had years to do it, but not really. I mean, that's not a lot of time for something this dramatic when you have comp plans and you have, boards that are trying to change the way they've viewed these projects after decades of doing it one way. So I feel like there's a lot of flailing around. And again, this is just my editorial opinion. I have not really seen a comprehensive approach to, and I think it's to the president's point, when you have a speaker who's very, who's an expert on these topics and also took a great interest in these bills, I think a lot of people look at it and say, well, why should we? But, in the end, he has, 75 votes he has to carry to get things done. And a lot of those votes come from towns like Portsmouth.
Thank you, Leah. Mr. Fitzmaurice? Thank you for recycling, sir. I don't know what that kickoff event was, but.
Larry Fitzmaurice, 50 Kristen Court. I'm going to make some editorial comments before I begin, but in general, I'm supporting Mr. Gleason's proposal. Is there a second to this thing yet?
Yeah. There hasn't really been a solid motion made yet, so
All right.
we haven't gotten to that yet.
Well, number one, trying to please the assembly in this matter when they've bashed us over the head is a kind of a waste of time, in my view. Now, I don't have to please a lot of different people with my words, but I can see that going up and asking the assembly to give us a break on little things here and there kind of puts behind us the fact that this is an existential issue for the town. I'm very sympathetic with the impact that this has on the planning department and frankly, the council and the legal division as well. But the real people that are going to be impacted are the citizens of the town of Portsmouth. And this council owes them at least a decent fight on this, in my judgment. There are people organizing opposition to this. I'm one of them. Now, we're not making a lot of progress to date, but I talked to councils and councilor members in 2 or 3 other different communities on the other side of the state, and they're sympathetic to our views. They hold the same views. They think they've been had too. And so But it must be understood that the taxpayer groups can fight this all we want, but the real fight has to come from the councils. They have to band together, join their monies together, because this isn't going to be cheap, and go after them. And if we don't do that, you're going to lose. And we're all going to lose. And the statewide planning division up in Providence is going to change the way this community looks, just sure than God made little green apples. So the intent of the assembly is clear. They passed 30 laws, all sponsored and apparently written in part by the speaker. This is not going to change. We're not going to change their minds. We're just going to have to fight them on this. So let me make some detailed remarks. I support the moratorium. I think a bigger effort is necessary, but the moratorium gives us some time, and it starts us pushing back. And this is a positive approach. Other communities will see us starting to push back. That will count. That gives me something to point to. The State Assembly developed this proposal, this series of laws, considered them in private, voted on them, passed them, sent them to the governor, and they got signed, all without consulting or discussing this with anybody else. You got to ask yourself why they did that. And the answer, I think, is clear. Nobody would have supported it. The Assembly, as far as I can tell, has been working on HMI, housing, moderate housing, since 2002, maybe earlier. And they haven't solved the problem at all. If anything, it's much worse. And I could speculate as to why, but they're not a group that knows how to shoot straight. And they can't fix this problem. And now they've pushed it all onto us by legislative fiat and expect us to fix it and haul their political posteriors out of the hot fires they're in. And that's really what's going on here. It isn't any more complicated than that. And by the way, if we wanted to up our numbers in this state, all we have to do is count the trailers, but they won't do that for various political reasons. This state program is typical of many things that are done in this state. They get the idea, they pass the law, then they try and figure out how to work it, how to get it to work. And that's what we're seeing again. They don't have a plan. That's why they didn't bring one to us, because they don't know how this is going to work. Nobody has studied this to see whether it's going to work. They have absolutely no idea. But there are a number of issues here, as Mr. Gleason has already pointed out. We are going to be engaged on the usage of utilities, and in my judgment, overusage of the utilities, if this stuff goes forward. Wastewater management is number one. Of course, DEM approves these systems, but we're hearing nothing from DEM about any of this, as far as I can see. And I think what they're doing is they're just going to lay down on this and let them all go and let the devil take the hindmost. Water usage, we have a separate water board and a different government, of course, but that's a pretty limited resource. And we're pretty close to it, as I understand it. So that is a major issue. And of course, we've all talked about the traffic. We have a road system in this town that is not going to change. We made our decisions 40 years ago, and we're stuck with what we've got. Nobody is going to fix those things. And so the capacity of our road systems is fixed. When we add more cars to it, it gets worse. And that's all there is to it. It's a simple problem. And the Department of Transportation already knows that. You could tell when they were here a couple of years ago to talk to us about it. So our town has planned carefully for its future, in large part, and have used the assumption that we will have a rural, spread out town with open spaces and plenty of trees and things like that. That's how we plan the town, and that's what the utilities support. This program that's sent to us by the state to implement isn't going to do that. It's going to overwhelm the system. And it's going to also damage our property rights substantially, and without reimbursement, I must point out. So we have a lot to be concerned about. You know, these laws are going to be administered locally, but they're all written by a state agency. It's probably the statewide planning division up in Providence. I don't know that. I'm speculating. They're the ones that are behind all the bad ideas in the past that look just like this, like Roadmap Rhode Island. So we don't have any freedom of operation as far as I can see. We have to do what we're told in the planning board and any other board of review. And with the control resting in probably the statewide planning division or some other agency up at the state. So they're going to take the 40-mile screwdriver and they're going to change everything that they want to change down here, and we're just going to have to say, yes, sir, or fight it out, one or the other. But they've already made their decision up there that they're going to impose this system upon us and that they don't really care what we're not. And that's just all there is to it. It's a sad thing that a state gets to this thing, to this level of lack of any kind of import from the citizens, but that's where we're at. And you know, we can do what we can against this. I think it's a doable thing, frankly, because we're going into an election year. The speaker's rumored to be running for governor, and maybe he will, maybe he won't. But a lot of our representatives are going to run for, all of them are going to be running for re-election. All the senators, all the representatives. So it's time to fight it out. And I don't think any of this is going to be horribly difficult. But in the end, the councils are going to have to rally around and carry this fight forward. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Fitzmaurice. Ms. Hitchen, I'm going to ask you one quick question, but in the past, mobile homes have not counted. I know some of the changes in state law allows some of them to be counted under certain circumstances. Do any of our mobile homes count in terms of LMI?
Currently not.
Okay. What, is it a long road to hoe to get to that point? Or
Currently, our two largest mobile parks, Melville and Sunny Acres, are owned by what's called a Springfield Group. Almost a year ago, Springfield Group put all their cachet of mobile parks, which were about 6 or 7 in New England, on the market. Springfield Group, I guess, has a potential buyer for Melville and Springfield Group, which is an out-of-state company. They have a purchase and sale. But Sunny Acres and Melville Group are trying to do a first right of refusal. Now, if they actually purchase their own mobile park and they have basically a community-owned park, that's where they would become each unit would be half a unit towards our 10%.
okay, so if they were to purchase them and create a homeowners association of
Mhm.
the park individually or combined,
Mhm.
they would do that. Okay.
I don't know at what point where they're at. I don't know any conditions. I haven't been fully abreast to that.
Right. Thank you for the update. Appreciate that.
I can say that Sunny Acres is in litigation trying to secure their right of first refusal. Melville is not, but Crown has not pursued anyone or anything with Portsmouth.
I did want to ask, along that subject. I've been told that the requirement about the mobile homes and houses built before 1986 don't qualify or something. That it's
76.
it's a federal thing as opposed to a state. Is that true? Or do we have our own?
That's a HUD matter in 1976.
76 for houses. What about manufactured homes?
I believe it's,
I'm not even a,
I
Yeah.
printed out an email that I sent to you back in June.
yeah,
that-
no, I mean, there's just so much to have to know. I give you a lot of credit for being a planner still.
I still
Just
question
forget
it,
all
Dave.
this.
I don't know.
But, Mr. President, I did in fact make a motion on this, and I'd be glad to go over that again, because I didn't know how far this would get, and I was hoping to get a second.
Okay.
If you'd like to review that.
Okay. So since there was not a second, there is no motion, so let's start over again.
Can you just
Yep.
re-say your motion?
Yes, sure. Motion for the support of the town council to draft and approve a resolution to impose a temporary moratorium on certain housing and land development projects in Portsmouth with input from planning and legal, and develop a plan moving forward within 2 meetings. I can always change the time frame for submittal to the Rhode Island legislation and to all Rhode Island cities and towns.
Second.
So I understand we couldn't just write up a moratorium and send it out. This is just to get to a planning stage to see if it's even practicable, doable, or we need to take another tact to, potentially do some good out of what has been put upon us by the General Assembly, if there is such a thing.
I was kidding with you earlier when I said I was working on my budget, but there is municipal MTAP, Municipal Technical Assistance Program, that I think we can literally tap into to get funds to look into, a traffic study in certain areas. We talked about this at the planning board meeting the other night for specific corridors like Bristol Ferry Road, East or West Main, the areas that I want to say NOPO, to look at for something. I don't think wastewater is something we need to focus on. We have expert witnesses that come to these planning board meetings, testify that what they're saying is expert testimony. In wastewater, if you install a system correctly, it shouldn't fail. I think we should be looking at who's installing these systems. DEM is approving them. They're installed all over the country. I wouldn't want to spend the time on wastewater, maybe looking at our water analysis and maybe traffic. I don't really want to spend too much time on school capacity, since we hear, the school isn't at capacity. But I maybe traffic analysis is something to look at.
Sure. And how about build out from the standpoint of, and I will be asking the water board to take a look at this as well. How much water do we have, and how much projected? And it is in one of the tables from our comp plan, but that goes, 2022. A comp plan was enacted prior to all of this new legislation. So we weren't even, unless Mr. Crosby knew from statewide planning that all these things were coming down the road, we didn't really address them in our comp plan like other other towns and cities can now,
No, he wouldn't have
Yeah.
been
But
aware.
I think you could probably answer Mr. Fitzmaurice that statewide planning did have a big influence on putting together the comp plan in general. That's kind of what they do, right?
Say that again?
Statewide planning would have been a big contributor to our comp plan in general. I think
They ultimately approve it.
yeah. Yeah. I remember in conversation with Mr. Crosby, that's,
I think Mr. Fitzmaurice's point was that statewide planning had a lot of influence on the laws that were just enacted.
well, all the above, yeah.
But I need to hear your motion again, because I keep hearing you say we want a resolution to put in a moratorium.
Yeah.
Okay.
So,
So I go back to the state law that says we have to advertise it for 14 days
right,
and then have a hearing after those 14 days.
which we would have to do, and it was in the backup, all this, the rules, we have to have a map of the area of the town where we would, you know, what our areas.
So we don't really
that
need
are-
we don't need a resolution. We just need to set the process in motion.
Yes, and it would start, I believe, with a resolution. Maybe I'm wrong to start with.
I
But-
think sort of semantics at this point. I think if the motion is tonight, the town council resolves to move forward with this process towards a moratorium, that's a resolution technically. It's not the same as a resolution to enact a moratorium, which is something you do at a future meeting once you have the findings of
Right.
fact that the state, puts in there. I mean, and honestly, there's a blanket prohibition on the LMI, the moratorium applying to the LMI anyway. So even if we did enact a moratorium, that's your first hurdle, right? Is that there's just a one sentence, saying moratorium, if you jump through all the hoops, it still doesn't apply to your LMI projects. So.
And it has to be very specific about vested applications or applications that have already gone through the system.
Right.
Right.
and
You can do LMI, but you have to have a very strict public health reason for it.
Incredibly strict, yes.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, maybe part of this, and I think this is your point, Mr. Gleason, when you said that there's a legal analysis. I mean, we could have, again, it's premature because we don't have a lot of appellate cases to look to. The state hasn't run these things, up the flagpole, as it were. As you said, Judge Lanphier, is struggling in his role as the land use judge because, he's basically writing the law in the hopes that it stays, holds up on appeal. But there are legal theories, I guess, that we could present, as to why, the home rule charter is being violated, or, the constitutional provisions are being violated. There are arguments to be made. I'm not going to say they're good arguments. I'm not going to, I can't tell you today. But, this is, I mean, this is, I don't want to call it overreach. That's an opinion. This is a broad reach compared to what the General Assembly used to do in terms of controlling local cities and towns' autonomy. And I think there's, probably a constitutional argument to be made there. So I think there's all sorts of things that could go into your decision as to whether you want to pursue a moratorium. I think if you want to direct that analysis to be done, we can do that.
Would it be
Was
perhaps?
mine too black and white that bothered you the most?
No,
Uh,
it's not that it's black and white, but if
using
I
the
look
word-
at it a different way,
Sure.
that if we're putting together a resolution to adopt a moratorium, it would mean, it would make more sense to me to put together a resolution to adopt a moratorium on the implementation of all these laws until they've been sufficiently ironed out by planning and figured out how we can either A, work with them, or B, somehow get repealed or changed.
Yeah.
As opposed to putting a lot of work in for our staff for 60 days or 120 days, depending on which law you read.
Right.
It would make more sense to try and do a to go to your second point of sending it out to all the cities and towns in our legislature.
Yes.
To say, hey, let's put on the brakes for a year until we can understand exactly what the heck you folks did to us. I think that's what I'm hearing you're trying to say.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I could be,
mean,
I could be hearing it wrong, but I think that's what you're trying to say.
I think truthfully, asking the General Assembly to reverse anything is a waste of my time, but I think there's a starting point that we need to say, we've had enough, and we see if there are other towns that want to work with us towards this goal, Whether I've worded that correctly, I mean.
All right, so I'm just trying to spitball here with
Yep.
my head going. So
Yep.
that would be more of, hey, let's reach out to the cities and towns with a request to join almost a class action lawsuit against the implementation of these things, to go to either Superior Court and say, hey, we can't physically get this stuff done because
Sure.
we have no idea what the hell it is.
Yeah.
But we have developers that have great lawyers and are willing to pay a buttload of money in order to get what they want to get pushed through. would you like to join in with us so that we have a consortium of cities and towns to go to the state and say, hey, we want to be able to fight at Superior Court to put the brakes on until we can all figure out what the heck is going on. That seems like a better road to me than doing a 60-day moratorium just specifically here in town.
I think it's an interesting point, and although I think I said earlier that the legal route is you wait for a developer to appeal your denial and then you go up and fight it. You make a great point, Mr. President, that you could join in with other cities and towns and ask for an injunction against the enforcement of these laws until such time as the towns can figure out what they mean.
And to your point earlier is, do we do it on the fact that there are other sections of the state constitution that say the General Assembly can't put these laws into place because it's taking away our sovereign rights as a town?
Yeah, I think it's two parts. I think it's that, and it's also just the unworkability. There's sort of contrary public policy, right? So the one of the tenets of affordable housing is you don't put them all in one corner, right? It's not the goal of affordable housing to have co-op city in Portsmouth. But we're not doing that. We're putting them all in one corner right now, not because we're choosing to, but that's just where the developers find land, and that's what,
Right.
But there might be also a way to say that we need to be able to make sure those mechanisms work to protect that public policy. And we don't have that now. The legislature didn't give us enough time to see how this would be implemented, to where it would be impacting. We haven't, our traffic studies, our water studies, we haven't been able to do those things. We need the resources, we need the time. And by the way, you shouldn't be in our business anyways. That's the broader question. So I think if you send a resolution to other cities and towns, I bet you'd get some positive responses and support on that. And maybe it's through the league, or maybe it's through a different group. I don't know, but
Wouldn't be through the league, unfortunately.
yeah.
I wouldn't be
Our
surprised.
hands popping up. I keep hearing it come up and it disappears.
Keith, so what you want to do is like make a motion to initiate like a resolution to other cities and towns to join Portsmouth in
Requesting a stay of the implementations of all housing laws that have been put forth in the past 4 years
Yeah, no, but that would
until we
eliminate.
can get a
that
better
would
understanding
eliminate
of
us
exactly
writing-
what this is.
That's a good idea, because that would eliminate us writing something and then hoping other people get on board. This way, we're contacting them directly and letting them know what we want to do, and I bet we'll get a good response. Can you put what you said in better words?
Probably not. I'm not a wordsmith.
I have
But
a
I'll try.
question.
But we got, that's a very good way to do it, I think.
My question is, does that still put a pause on things like you were speaking about, or not?
We may not be able.
We can't put a
No.
pause, we cannot put a pause on tonight, no
Right.
matter what.
Right.
We
Right,
can't
no, I know
leave.
not tonight, but I'm saying, does that change pretty much what you were trying to address?
Probably not. The pause, like I say, I started with the moratorium. I called it a pause. I think at worst case scenario is life goes on, because what's 60 days anyways? It's not going to buy you a lot, because I've already said, if you're going to embark on this adventure, you have to have, everything lined up. The planning board's going to have 3 days to look at this. And Lee is going to look at it for 1 week, and you got to have this all lined up to use that 60 days, which is totally impossible, It's more about getting the awareness of our situation out there, to me.
And I think that the broadest way to do that is through an injunction on the court level to make, whether it's Judge Lampier or whoever, to say, okay, hey, let's put on the brakes. And if there's 30 cities and towns that come back and say that join together to go to a court.
Yep.
It's not a class action suit, but whatever. And say, hey, we're all dying here. We have a planner.
Yeah.
Sorry, I forgot her name again, but she does 4 towns, right? Tiverton doesn't have a planner.
Ashley.
Ashley, right. So, I mean, I have no idea how those towns must be getting run over because they don't have an active planner who's keeping an eye on it like we do.
Right.
So I bet there are plenty of other towns who want to join in there and say, hey, yeah, we need to pump the brakes on this for a little while till we can get a better understanding of how this is exactly going to affect us. And to the point of, we just passed our comprehensive plan and you threw all these changes at us.
Yeah.
So I hate to spend money on lawyers, sorry, but that might be the only way that we could get forward to pump the brakes and stop some of this development from happening until we better understand what it is.
Sure. And honestly, you know, I'm glad we did the spitballing, but I thought I would get to the point where spitballing starts happening over there, because there's different things.
I'm
you know,
spitting at them.
I mean, I don't have the legal expertise to look for these, you know, ways to go about it, but what you've recommended would be a great solution. You know, how do you put it in words?
Yeah. What is the next step if we take your,
We would
Your
have to work
words.
on the resolution up and bring it back next meeting.
with what your
The general gist, I'm gonna,
general
I'll work with
gist?
Gio on
And
that.
Mr. Gleason, are you all right with that?
Oh, absolutely. I would just, I have no problems removing my existing
Yeah.
motion,
As
retracting
long
it.
as,
It just,
That's,
I like your motion, but it just seems like a lot of work to get to 60 days.
Could, now, what you're actually saying is like, it's a motion to initiate a resolution with other Rhode Island cities and towns to initiate a temporary joint moratorium until the full understanding of the new laws are analyzed and their consequences are determined. Something
It's
along
an
those lines.
injunction in enforcing the current laws as they've been put forward until we have a better understanding of exactly what the heck they're doing to us.
All right, I see what you want to do.
But
Yeah,
it's
It's just.
similar
it's
to what you just
Similar to
did.
this,
Yeah.
right.
I'm avoiding the word moratorium because that's in state
That's
law, says we
poison.
can't do it.
That's poison.
but I wonder if you want to avoid the word injunction as well as you're starting.
Well, the only
out.
place we get an injunction is at a court level.
Yeah.
The state house is not going to put an injunction on themselves.
No,
So I think the
that
first
could
step
be
would
in
be
the
to,
resolution.
to sort of give a little paragraph on what the injunction would involve. And essentially it's getting your moratorium through the courts and not the General Assembly and not through the town action, which is prohibited.
Again, avoiding the
Avoiding the
moratorium,
word,
it gets us that pause that David's looking for.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
So I think
so
you
that
need to-
Leah and her coalition or consortium or whatever you
Our
are.
club.
Her
Planners Club.
Her Friday afternoon
So-
can get a better understanding of what's going on.
So what Dave has done here tonight is got, and this is what it takes, initiated just a start. We got the first, journeys, longest journeys of single first step. So
Mr. Casper,
So
I guess we're gonna do that.
you're gonna have to pull that mic up. There you go. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Mr. President. Paul Keston, 15 Kingfield, not Kingfield, 3241, where I used to live.
You've moved
Yeah.
in the past 15 minutes.
I'm-
He's-
Things aren't good at home. The only reason I'm standing here is I'd like to say, don't miss public safety. And from a standpoint of water mains, fire response, to me, in the job I had, it takes an awful lot of building code to change. In my grandfather's house had a slate roof and asbestos shingles because they didn't have a fire department. Today, we don't have that. The density is going to go up. The materials to build these structures next to old homes, old farmhouses, just don't work. You're going to lose more than one. And I think changing building code also needs to be looked at in this moratorium that you're doing. I mean, something has to change. When you're changing this density and you're going to put houses, again, back to Fall River, the way those are, a lot of those structures are concrete buildings and bricks. And they don't burn like wood does, and this town is built on. And I would like to make sure that when you do this injunction, you also look at the public safety side for maximizing, the time that if we had a fire, Middletown could get here, because it's not like going to Providence and then 2 neighborhoods away, we've got another station. This impact is big, and I think that should also be part of this moratorium. Don't just make it, because of a water supply when it really is public safety. None of our mains support this kind of building in the street either.
Thank you, sir. So I will work with Mr. Gleason and Gio to craft a resolution for our next meeting that encompasses everything we just talked about in the last.
So nothing,
20,
we're
30
not
minutes.
gonna, we don't need to give you a motion tonight to do that.
You can.
I don't know whether you do.
Continue the matter.
Yeah.
Well, let me retract my first motion, retract your second. You did-
Well, I didn't put that as an official one. That was a what if.
Probably did. And so a motion would be to continue the matter.
To the next meeting.
Second.
Sorry. Motion would be to continue the matter to the next meeting.
Do I get to look at the subject
Absolutely.
resolution? Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
Do you get a crack at helping with it, or do you get a crack, you want to say something about it now?
I'll help.
Thank you. Very much appreciated.
Thank you.
I appreciate it as well. That's a good.
So
So
we-
you get,
good
you
way
get
to
a
approach it.
second on your motion
Uh,
that you just made?
Charlie
You
did. Did you do the
Need it.
second on the table, on the continuing?
Second.
Yes,
Okay,
Just keep saying second, you'll get it right.
and a vote.
okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes 5-0.
Thank you very
Thank you
much.
all.
Appreciate it.
Next, we have correspondence. We
Yeah.
have 5 or 6 different things, 2 of which kind of touch on this
Yep,
in terms of ADUs and LMI, but we have a motion to receive and place on
Can I-
file.
So moved.
and I wanted to pull 4 and 6 for discussion.
Is that the 2 with the?
Yep, that's the one you
West,
just
West,
mentioned. Yep.
so can we pull 4 and 6 and tie them together with the thing we just tabled
Yeah,
till next week?
This is information.
So just
contacts.
put it as a new business, whatever, 1, and then put this as A and B underneath.
Right, because those are people who are also concerned with the same
Context.
thing you guys are, so that'll be a contact point, you know.
Okay, so we'll just tie, we'll just put those 2 resolutions underneath A and B.
So it'll go old business.
Old
and then-
business, yep. And yes, and just plug those in underneath as backup for that.
And we'll receive and place on file the balance. Yeah.
Okay. So your motion is to receive and place on file everything but 4 and 6
Second,
and put those on next week's agenda.
second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes 5-0. We have our future meetings on the 26th. We're going to start early, folks. We're going to start at 6 o'clock because we'll have our initial budget overview briefing with the school department.
It doesn't say that.
It doesn't say that, no. I just changed your mind.
I was gonna say, it
It's
didn't. say-
crazy, isn't it? I was told that this evening too. The 26th. So we'll have a initial discussion on that. We also have a presentation on potential school bond and submission to RIDE, or did
Yeah,
that
that's
get canned
changed.
today?
Or the bond is ancillary to
Future,
this,
yeah.
but it's not a discussion of the
Right.
bond. It's just a discussion of the stage 2
Stage
application.
2 application to the state, which would have then potentially lead into a bond question, which is updating more school buildings. And then February 9th and 23rd. 23rd for President's Day? Which day's President's, 23rd, or is it 16th is President's Day? And are we closed for President's Day? 16th?
16th,
Okay.
and yes, we are closed.
Okay. All right. If there's no other questions or
Motion
business,
to adjourn?
Second.
all those in favor? Aye. Opposed?